As a monumental feat of human engineering, the Aswan Dam stands as a testament to mankind's ambition to harness nature's power. Rising 1,111 meters tall and stretching over 12,570 feet, this colossal structure tames the mighty Nile, the lifeblood of Africa. With the ability to hold a staggering 132 cubic kilometers of water, this dam was built not just to control the river's flow, but to fuel Egypt's rise to power and prosperity in its post-independence era. But of course, this project doesn't come without a share of its own controversy. While it promised progress and sovereignty to one great ancient civilization, it demanded an unimaginable sacrifice from another, the Nubians. A people of a rich and vibrant history, they saw their homes, culture, and identity swept away, submerged between the waters of Lake Nasser. This vast reservoir, essential to the dam's operation, transformed their homeland into a watery grave, echoing the legends of Atlantis. Join me in this episode of Constructing Africa as we explore the story behind the great Aswan Dam and its contrasting impact between the Egyptians and the Nubians. You see, the Nile, the world's longest river, has shaped civilization for over 25,000 years. Its journey begins deep in East Africa, fed by two mighty sources. The White Nile, flowing from Lake Victoria, shared by Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, and secondly, the Blue Nile, which emerges from Lake Tana in Ethiopia. These two tributaries merge in Sudan to form a river that winds over 6,000 kilometers, carving through barren deserts and transforming them into fertile lands, sustaining countless communities along its banks. But this gift of life has also been a source of conflict. With its waters touching many nations, the Nile is a lifeline for millions. Therefore, with so many stakeholders, each with their own objectives, the river has become a stage for geopolitical battles. These nations often clash, pushing their own agendas for the Nile's use, which inevitably impacts others downstream. But despite these differences, one thing that has always remained a common interest for all major civilizations along the Nile is the ability to control and harness its waters to generate power. Earliest records of initial attempts date back to the 11th century, where a renowned Arab polymath, Ibn al-Haytham, proposed building a dam near Aswan to regulate the river's flow. But with the limited technology of his time, he concluded that such a feat was beyond reach. Fast forward to the late 19th century, when Egypt, under the British colonial rule, began to turn this ancient dream into reality. At the time, Egypt was the world's largest supplier of high-quality cotton, accounting for 93% of its export revenues. But this prosperity was threatened by the Nile's unpredictable flooding and droughts, which jeopardized cotton production. And of course, this was not an ideal situation to the British, who at the time used this as a major supply for their textile industry. So they had to come up with a solution. To stabilize irrigation and maximize agricultural output, the British initiated the construction of the Aswan Dam in 1899. Designed by British engineers, the dam was completed in 1902 and was a monumental success. The dam transformed Egypt's economy by enabling year-round irrigation and multiple growing seasons. Following this, cotton farming thrived, becoming the main source of income for landowners in the Nile Delta. With time, the lower dam proved insufficient. Its height was raised twice in 1912 and in 1933, but it still couldn't handle the Nile's massive floodwaters. By the mid-20th century, it was clear that Egypt needed a larger and more ambitious solution. This situation brought about the vision of the Aswan Dam, which was born out of necessity. Egyptians had tasted the benefits of controlling the Nile and dreamed of harnessing its power not just for agriculture, but to uplift their nation. However, Egypt's colonial status under the British meant that such an ambitious project was way out of reach. The primary focus of the British was enhancing the lower dam to improve irrigation for cash crops like cotton, which greatly benefited their industries. In addition to this, the monarchy under King Farouk of Egypt at the time showed little interest in advancing major national infrastructure projects like the Aswan Dam. However, all hope was not lost, because soon everything was about to change. In the wake of 1952, a revolution sparked in Egypt under Gamal Abdel Nasser, bringing a shift in leadership and national goals. This historical event brought an end to the monarchy and the British rule. The political climate created perfect conditions for Egypt to finally have their say on the dam. Check out our latest video on Egypt's post-independence history for more details on this. Link is in the description. With a change in leadership and freedom on their mind, Nasser's government viewed controlling the Nile as an essential piece to Egypt's self-reliance, modernization, and economic growth, making the Aswan Dam project possible. However, even though Egypt now had the power to undertake the project, they did not possess the necessary funds and technology to do so. Despite this, the timing had just been about right because something interesting was going on around the world, further making this project a possibility. This was the Cold War, a global tug-of-war between the United States and the Soviet Union, where both superpowers were eager to win allies, often through financial and technical aid. And as a great leader, Nasser seized the moment, playing both sides to Egypt's advantage. Initially, both the United States and Britain were on board to fund the dam. They offered $270 million in return for Egypt's cooperation in resolving tensions with Israel. But Nasser's arms deal with the Soviets to modernize the Egyptian army, and his recognition for Communist China soured relations with the West. In retaliation, the United States and Britain withdrew their offer. Facing a funding crisis, Nasser made a bold move. In 1956, he nationalized the Suez Canal, generating about $100 million annually, which was crucial in funding the dam. This decision sparked the Suez Crisis, with Britain, France, and Israel attempting to reclaim the canal. However, international pressure from both the United States and the Soviets forced them to withdraw. And just like that, with a stroke of luck, Egypt narrowly escaped the crisis, and by 1958, the Soviet Union fully stepped in to support the dam's construction. They offered a $1.2 billion loan at a low 2% interest rate, covering most of the dam's foreign exchange needs, including technical services and equipment. And finally, the long-awaited construction of the Aswan Dam commenced in 1960, taking 11 years to complete through the efforts of 25,000 laborers. By 1971, it was inaugurated by President Nasser and came into full operation. Seen as a solution to Egypt's economic struggles, the Aswan Dam stands as a monumental achievement. With its 12 turbines, it generates over 10 billion kilowatt-hours of electricity annually, enough to power the entire nation and catapult it into the modern era. For the first time in history, the Nile's floods were tamed, offering a newfound sense of control and stability in the region. And indeed, this control proved vital during critical moments. The dam spared Egypt from the devastating drought that swept across Africa in the late 1980s and 1990s and has shielded the nation from unexpected high floods. To many Egyptians, the dam has been nothing short of a blessing, delivering both economic growth and environmental security. But as is often the case with monumental progress, this is only one side of the story. While the dam unleashed prosperity for the Egyptians, it simultaneously unleashed devastation for the Nubians. Entire villages, histories, and cultures were drowned beneath the reservoir created by the dam, Lake Nasser. Named in honor of Gamal Abdel Nasser, the lake is now the largest artificial lake in the world, spanning approximately 500 kilometers. You see, the thing is, the Egyptians were fully aware of this because they understood that the reservoir's vast waters were crucial in powering the dam's turbines and securing Egypt's future. So, no matter how heavy the cost was, they were willing to pay for it, and in this case, the Nubians were the sacrifice traded in for the Nile's power. So, in the creation of Lake Nasser, vast stretches of lower Nubia were submerged, displacing over 100,000 Nubians in Egypt and Sudan. Entire villages, along with their rich history and cultures, disappeared underwater. However, it's important to note that the Egyptian government tried to mitigate the impact by relocating the Nubians to newly constructed settlements and offering some financial compensation. But these barren and unfamiliar lands could not replace the fertile soils and scarce connection they once shared with the Nile. Their culture, deeply tied to the river, began to fade, lost under the waves of Lake Nasser. Furthermore, the rising waters also threaten countless monuments and archaeological treasures. In a massive UNESCO-led effort, 24 monuments from the Egyptian part of Nubia and 4 monuments from the Sudan, including the iconic Abu Simbel temples, were dismantled and relocated to higher ground. But despite these efforts, many sites were lost forever beneath the lake as there simply was not enough time to relocate them. As time goes by, we must continue to question and inquire on whether these actions were just. The destructions of the Nubians by the Egyptian government to gain control over the Nile's power is a critical event in history which has been swept away through time. Today, many Nubians have abandoned the settlements they were offered and are returning to the lake's edge in an effort to recreate fragments of their lost way of life. Will this once great people ever find the heights achieved in the past? That's a question for time to tell. As of today, it's clear that the Aswan Dam delivered a devastating blow to their progress. So, to conclude, as tragic as this story may sound, it's certainly not unique. Throughout history, other tribes and nations have faced similar fates, some enduring irreversible losses and even extinction. Let me be clear, this is not to justify what happened. It's simply a reminder that history is often harsh and is shaped by choices. Choices that pit progress against preservation and one people's against another's loss. The lesson here is not to give in to such sacrifices, but to understand that resilience, adaptation, and a forward-looking mindset are essential for survival and ultimately for flourishing. That said, thank you for tuning into this episode. We hope you enjoyed it and learned a lot from the symbolic project. Make sure you let us know your thoughts and what you'd like to see next in the comment section. And if you haven't already, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channel PR Network as we continue to explore the post-independence history of Africa together. See you guys on the next one.